Crew Pros, your single source for high-quality, affordable home services. If you are remodeling, repairing, or replacing, Crew Pros are the professionals that can do the job no matter the size. If you are thinking of remodeling your kitchen or bath, needing a new HVAC system, plumbing repairs, flooring, or a complete roof replacement, call Crew Pros. Crew Pros, proud sponsor of the Grizz 901 podcast.
Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said, I don't have that fire in my eye no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
What up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to another edition of Grizz 901, presented to you by Zach Jaworski State Farm, where they treat you like family. Looky. Look who we have here. I am your host, Daniel Greer, but the other guy joining us from a gymnasium near you, Ryan. What's up, man?
I thought it was permanently banned, so it's nice to be back. But as you
Ryan,
can see, busy with a lot of basketball stuff, live in the gym, as you can see.
Yeah, Ryan is very busy right now. This is kind of his time where I always know, usually it's the hardest time for me is to find someone to do this with me a little bit. And so thankfully Nathan's kind of come over and just kind of stepped right in and become the other co-host as well. So it's kind of a three-man team. And so I literally text Nathan before we were getting on here. I say, hey, I'm just guessing you're not coming on. He goes, nope. If you got Ryan, y'all have fun. And so Ryan's here. Nathan will be back here tomorrow. We're going to have a twofer this week, right? So we're going to do back-to-back games. They're both middle of the week. Even after a blowout, which is usually the toughest to do any kind of a show, because what content are you doing? But we have a couple segments here. We're going to get into some interesting things, and it should be a fun night. We have a lot we can talk about, obviously, and with tonight, it was an absolute bloodbath, right? From the very start, like it was the Hornets just shooting like lights out. It looked great, and then they kind of came back to earth, right? The Grizzlies ended up winning 131-107. Thoughts on the game just in general, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, first minutes is like, okay, this might actually be interesting. And I know like Pete Pranica and them were saying regretting, which is one of my favorite sayings, but theirs was a complete crash and burn. Like it was just, they flew a little too close to the sun and fell completely down flat. And as soon as the subs came in for the Hornets, it was over. Like the game was done.
Yeah, that honestly was it. Like they had their little run, and I know Nathan put out a stat. I can't pull it out fast enough, but Nathan put up a stat, and it was like perfect. I think they scored 24 points, and then literally did not score for another 4 minutes and ended up the first quarter. I think it was like 26 points. So just in general, that is something that I see that bad teams are. Like the way they were acting, the way they were reacting, that's just what bad teams do. And listen, I know you have been there as well, but we have seen some really bad Grizzlies teams. Okay, so I am not too far removed to not understand that. It's a double negative, whatever. I understand. And I know what they're going through. And they're frustrated. There's people injured. The Grizzlies have people injured all the time. But thankfully, this team has been built in a certain way that we have guys like David Roddy who's able to step up out of nowhere. Santi Aldama's coming up. And it's players like that are able to step in and make this team what it is. The whole reason people said that this team was better without Ja Morant. That's the whole reason. It's because they're built the right way. That Charlotte team, they're not built the right way at all.
No, this is two franchises one who drafted really well and one who didn't, right?
Yeah.
Like two teams that hit or missed on their draft picks. And you start to see it. Like Charlotte constantly having to go back in the top 10 of the lottery to try to fix what they're doing currently. And then they usually blow.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there's no continuity. I thought it was weird when they brought back Steve Clifford after they fired him like 3 years ago. So that whole kind of situation is weird. I mean, you got Gordon Hayward, who's not playing for them, always injured now. I know Kelly Oubre didn't play, but if that's really a big deal for the Hornets that Kelly Oubre not playing, then you've got major internal problems. And I know we probably don't want to touch about Miles Bridges, but like not having him there, who was a guy who was a fringe last year, obviously you're going to feel that, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically LaMelo and Rozier. And if one of those guys aren't hitting, then it's just you're fighting an uphill battle the entire game.
Yeah, I agree. That's man, that team is in utter disarray right now. And they might be playing for Scoot. They might be playing for Wembanyama. Like, it might be that bad. Like, the fact is, and we'll get into the Grizzlies real quick, but let's keep talking about the Hornets because I have two things. These are very much just in general questions. And I want to ask you because you keep up with more of the league in general than I do as well. What are you doing with LaMelo? All right. So you're playing him, right? But really, what are you doing? Do you make a decision to shut him down and try to go for next year? Because honestly, you're going to hurt his growth. And then the other thing is, why are we even talking to Miles Bridges? Like, that doesn't make sense to me, especially at the predicament they're in. What are they even doing talking to him?
Yeah, LaMelo, I mean, LaMelo's not going anywhere. Like, he's the only thing they really have, right? But this is a team that has a couple players that I would be interested in if they did become available. Like, if Charlotte was really like, they don't need help tanking. Like, they literally don't need to trade anybody tank worse. Like, they can just keep doing what they're doing. Like, their bench is so bad. Like, they're awful. But, like, P.J. Washington, Terry Rozier, I think they're interesting players if they're on a good team. Now, they're not like starting five caliber, but if you need an 8-man rotation heading into playoff time, I think those are two really interesting pieces that could help you come playoff time. Unfortunately for them, they're just in a no-win situation with the Hornets. They're going nowhere. But I think that those are two interesting players that could help teams that I would not be surprised teams, like especially playoff teams, try to poach. But I don't know if the Hornets will do it. Like, I don't know if they're going to be like, oh, we got LaMelo, 2 years ago now, maybe 3. Let's go all in again for a top 5 pick. They might do that. What else do they have to do? So I don't know if they'll necessarily be selling pieces, but if they do, I'm interested by a couple of those pieces.
Yeah. Well, just looking at that, like Gordon Hayward has 2 more years. He's got $30 million each year on his contract.
No thanks.
But then, Terry Rozier's got 3 years, and the other one says it's non-guaranteed, the 4th year. But the guys that I'm looking at, right, and that's what I want to hit on that because this ties in back into the Grizzlies a little bit. Because somebody who I have liked is P.J. Washington, right? He's on a 5.8. He's a restricted free agent next season. So if you were to get a guy like that, like this is the perfect team that we just saw tonight, that some of those, if not a lot of those players, are on expiring contracts and can be moved. And you might see them around the league playing on playoff teams. They could be playing on the Grizzlies because these are guys that you can go get, and they're cheap rentals. Like 5.8 for a guy like P.J. Washington is good. But they're going to have to pay LaMelo at some point. They have Cody Martin there. That's on a long-term deal. Kelly Oubre, who you said was just injured. He's got, this is his last year. He's expiring. Mason Plumlee, who's playing really well basketball right now, outside of, playing against Steve-O. Everybody looks bad. And I'm going to hit on that with Wendell Carter coming up for next game tomorrow night. And I have a little bit of a bet. We're going to go on the under. We're just going to give away a little bit of a tease. But I think some of those guys, even like a guy like Dennis Smith Jr., $1.8 million, that's a guy that you might be able to get off of. Just forget draft picks, because people have 1.8 million wiggle room on their team, and he's good enough to go play on a team, and he might be the 10th, 11th guy, right? But if you're down with injuries, that might be a guy you really need. So that Hornets team is interesting, right? But I think that they're going to be a team that you're going to see selling. There's no way that they're going to be a buyer at all.
Yeah, they're definitely a sell if they sell. Like they can keep, if they want to take, just keep doing what you
Wow.
Play your starters, their regular minutes, but that bench 15 to 20 minutes and you're good. It's a great stealth tank because that bench is abysmal.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about two things. New segment on the show. Instead of going down and breaking down the entire game, right? Most of the people that are coming over here or listening on the podcast, first of all, thank you. But the second thing is you probably can see the box score in front of you. We all have the internet, right? The World Wide Web. We got it. We can surf it. So let's go, instead of breaking down the box score, let's go give you our two things. So Ryan, let's start off with you first. Give me one of your two things and kind of we'll go down and break down what that is in general.
So this is just two things I saw in the game tonight.
Yes.
That's what we're doing?
Or you know what? Go crazy with it. Whatever you want. It's your show.
No. One of the things that I noticed, which I know it wasn't much of a fight, but I thought the rotations on defense were much cleaner. There is times where we tend to overhelp still for no reason. Like, why are we sending two people to stop a Plumlee drive? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
But it is the Hornets, so it really doesn't matter. But I thought the rotations overall on defense were much cleaner, which has been my biggest problem with them for the past couple weeks, right? Like,
yeah, the
energy, the effort, the communication. Like, are you going to help? Or you're not, or you go ball watch. And it was pretty clear how they were doing that. They got a couple steals where Charlotte's driving baseline and the bottom guy would rotate over to help on that drive, and then the top guard would dive all the way down to that opposite corner and jump that pass. And they may have been doing that on and off depending on the type of teams they were playing, but it was really noticeable tonight, right? Like, that was the game plan. Charlotte was going to drive baseline, try to kick to the opposite corner for that three, and the Grizzlies just completely took it away. And so it basically turned into, can the Hornets hit above the break threes? And we found out after the first 7 minutes that they clearly could not. So I think that's one of the things that I noticed the most was cleaner help, cleaner rotations, cleaner scheme, like executing scheme.
Yeah, I think that they are finally finding some rotations that are fitting. I don't think they're over helping in a sense. That's what I've always talked about, is doing a little bit too much on the defensive end where they're completely overselling themselves and puts them in a bad spot to guard their guy. And so literally it's always somebody's chasing after the ball. And at that point, you're going to have enough passes in the NBA to find an open man. Let's go to my thing, and I'm going to take this away from Black Lives Matter. Jaren is clear and away the best defender in the league. I won't go that far. I know how you love Jaren, right? But I won't go that far. I will say that tonight, but also every other night, what I'm seeing now is that he is still getting his blocks, right? Cashed on the Grizzlies player watch over. I think it was a plus 140. Thank you for 3 blocks for Jaren tonight. But what you're seeing is people are getting to the basket and Jaren's near, and they're actually kicking it back out when they have potentially a layup. Normally in an NBA game, when you get that close, you can rise up and dunk the ball or rise up, use the rim and go underneath of it. But because he's so long, people are having to rethink about what they're doing on the offensive end. And so Jaren is by far and away the best rim protector in the league. I will go that far and say that. I do think that he has to be a little bit smarter of a player, and I have to see it for longer stretches, especially in big games, that we've seen where he can kind of disappear. But I will say that Jaren seems to be finding himself a little bit more, especially as of late. He went through that bad stretch where he was just making boneheaded decisions. He's finally, I guess, taking a deep breath. And he's not being the guy who's going for the block. He's kind of letting it come to him. And as long as he can continue to still be the roamer on defense, he's always going to be the best rim defender in the league.
Yeah, I was going to ask what your definition of best defender in the league is, because he's the best help defender in the league, I would say. And he is a really good rim protector. I don't think he's a super locked in one defender, but people aren't really going. And obviously can say that he has to clean up the stupid fouls, right? And just kind of learning when to pick and choose to go for stuff. So he is a really good defender, and he is an excellent. It's right with our guards not playing perimeter defense. It's kind of like, well, you got me. I mess up that rotation, just clean it up, and then he gets foul trouble. So like he cleans everything up for all the wing scrubs, and he has been excellent at that so far. I think he's doing really well.
Yeah. No, and I think Black Lives Matter just said he's the defensive player of the year, not the best defender. That probably is a better statement. But I will say that the fact that so many people were coming at him during that stretch where he was playing so bad, making boneheaded decisions, to now being the favorite to win defensive player of the year is by far leaps and bounds. And it goes out to him for understanding the game a little bit more and kind of letting it settle down. All right, Ryan, give me your next thing that you've seen tonight or whenever you've seen it.
Oh, lights went out.
Oh, boy.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, they're unscented. I was wondering how long it was going to take before those went out. They're going to be up longer than that. Sorry. The second thing is Ziaire Williams just out of the rotation? Because I thought it was weird that he was available and he didn't play until garbage time.
Yeah.
And Roddy well. So it's not like you can say like it wasn't justified. Z has been struck, but you're going to need Ziaire at some point with his length and his defense potential, right? It's just his offense is so like it's taken another step back. So I think he just needs time to get back in it. But I guess the big question is right, like how confident are you in the knee? Because the minutes have been really sporadic, even when he's come back. Like it's 19 minutes, it's 12 minutes, like it's not a consistent role. So like a situational player now, which is not what you draft with the 10th pick or whatever it was, the 12th pick.
Right.
It just kind of feels that, which is weird. So what's going on? But it's something that stuck out to me for sure. It was like, where's Ziaire again? Like I thought that previous game too. I didn't know he was scratched right before game time. I was like, where is Ziaire at?
Yeah.
And then I can't remember who sent it over to me and said that he was ruled out like at game time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the, I believe he said it was the other knee, Coach Jenkins said. So it had nothing to do with, I guess, the injury that kept him out for so long. They were just being precautious is what his, I guess, reasoning was. This was going to be my second thing, but I have something else. But I do want to hit on this. I want to ask you one question. Me and Nate talked about this last time. And I don't want to give, I don't even know if you probably listened to the show. Probably not, right? You're busy enough. But we'll ask the question. Ziaire Williams at this point in his career where he is on your team, right? They're potentially playing Roddy over him. What would you do as a coach, a GM, executive? Would you send me down to the G League to get some reps in?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, that's the whole point of the G League, right? Like, don't MLB pitchers do this when they're going through rehab? They go down to a farm team and get reps. I mean, Xavier Tillman asked for reps. That's the only reason why. Like, I don't think the Grizzlies would have sent him down to the G League if specifically asked for it. So, I get it. Like, you're played in the playoffs last year. You had some really good minutes, but a lot of times you struggled. You've been injured for most of the year. You've come back and really struggled. Like he looks frustrated, even in the few minutes they garbage time. Like he looks clearly frustrated, right? And I just think this comes with reps. And if it were me, I would just want as many reps as I can, right? Like if I'm just 12 minutes a game and still struggling with my shot, like why is Coach Jenkins feel more confident to give me 20 minutes? Whereas I can go down to the G League, play as many minutes as I want to, get up as many shots as I want to, get back in the rhythm. Then I can come back and find a more carved out role for me. So I would, but I know it's got to be a pride thing because Xavier Tillman is not prideful to ask for. He wanted it. Ziaire doesn't seem to have asked for it. And I don't know if the front office has approached him about it, but I would. I would just purely want the reps.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's the thing is I feel like as a GM exec, I don't think it's to that point yet where you're like, hey, we have to make the decision. I think you want, because it's still early into the season, right? We're not even halfway through. I think it's still at the part of the season where you're like, hey, we want to let him make that decision himself, right? He is a young player. They could easily make the decision for him. But if they allow him as a man, even though he is really young, as a man to say, hey, I've seen Xavier Tillman. Xavier Tillman tonight, he played really well. He's also going to play really well against bad teams, but he did play really well for his minutes that he got. So I don't want to take that away from him. But it's worked for Xavier Tillman to the point where Ziaire Williams has to almost do it himself. He has to be the one that takes it upon himself and says, hey, I want to go down there and I want to go ahead and get some minutes. And yes, it's not traveling with the team. You're just going to South Haven and playing, getting some practice in. I'd be curious if they send him to just down there to get a practice in. I think that could be. But the thing is, like, he really is the perfect player this team needs. He's just not himself. So it has nothing to do with Ziaire in general as a bad player. He isn't himself. Whether it's injury, whether it's confidence, it doesn't matter. I think it was going to take himself to say, hey, I need to go down there just to get some playing time. He can't get playing time tonight. He played 7 minutes. He did have 6 rebounds. My God, 6 rebounds in 7 minutes. That's what we want. That's like when you're doing that, you're literally saying, hey, I'm going to bust it for those 7 minutes. And he did. All right. I think he hit 1 shot. But just overall, I think that's good. But let me get to my other thing real quick and we'll get on to the next game. So we don't want to spend too much time on these big blowouts. We have another show tomorrow night. My other thing is Steven Adams. On the Grizzlies, they have the best isolation points per possession team. Let me say it again. The Grizzlies themselves are the best on defense, best points per possession defense. The player that has the best percentage, Steven Adams. I want to give him a shout out for the simple fact that he's doing so much on the defensive end, not the offensive end where he's obviously heralded for getting those big extra offensive rebounds. He is doing the little things. He's getting tonight 2 blocks and 1 steal. He's a plus 24. He tied with Desmond Bane as being the best plus minus. The guy is doing a very good job on these other bigs, and he's canceling them out. Like, if you've seen the guys that he's going against, you can guarantee the next time he go against JV, I'm going to play his under points, rebounds, and assists every single night. Like, that's going to happen. And you know what? I did the same thing tonight against Mason Plumlee. And tomorrow night, the teaser, here it is. I'm going under on Wendell Carter. His points, rebounds, and assists were 30.5 tonight when he played. I'm going to go ahead and go under on Wendell Carter, whatever that number is, as long as it's not under 25. But if it's 25 or higher, I'm going to go under on his points, rebounds, and assists. There's no way that he's doing that to Steve-O. And if his rebounds are 10.5, yes, I'm going to go under every single time. I just think Steve-O's having a great defensive, just a run, a stretch right here, even though the whole season in general.
I think Steven has been awesome, right? My biggest question is, what does that look like in the playoffs? Because his free throw shooting a problem. And I'm surprised, like, it was the first time on Christmas when I saw Hack a Steven, right? And like Kurt did it. He tried. And
He tried.
Got called for a whatever that play tech is now, or what's called specifically, but that's going to happen a lot in playoffs. Yeah, the whatever that is, the foul. Steven's been awesome, and he's going to lead us to a top 3 or 4 seed in the West, right? Just dominating other players. But the big question is how far can he reliably hold up in the playoffs? I think that it's turned into for me, because I know what I'm getting from him in the regular season, right? It's a solid output. He's going to dominate another big that doesn't have any finesse skills. He's going to push you under the basket. He's going to swallow up offensive rebounds. He's going to screen assists. Like, he's going to do everything in the regular season. The biggest question for me with Steven is, what's that playoff look like? Because I know it's still close. Like, anything could happen. It's still early technically in an NBA season, but it's something to think about, right? Like, what is that going to look like? And will a 33% free throw shooter, how much, like, is he going to have a Giannis-like game where he shoots free throws? And so Steven has been awesome. We're not where we are right now without him, and he's consistent. Right. But where is it going to be when it really matters with him? Because there is holes. Like, there is holes in his game.
Yeah. There's definitely holes in his game, but I will say that the take foul kind of takes that a little bit of away, just in a small percentage, for the simple fact that you honestly can't figure out. Nobody can actually figure out when it is actually a take foul is or not, right? The only time they can actually foul him is if they go and put him in a pick and roll. But I think he is so pivotal for this team because he does allow Ja to kind of become himself. And I understand that completely on maybe not being able to hit his free throws and having Hack a Stevo. But I will say that doesn't worry me just yet. And I know that probably, will be closer as we do. What worries me the most is we are a bad half-court team, where I think we're bottom 5 in the league in half-court basketball. So that does worry me. That more than Hack a Stevo. I don't think that worries me right now. But I will say that it could as we get closer to playoff time. My mind is not there yet. I'm not trying to think about playoffs. Playoffs.
Oh,
all right.
I'm already thinking about it. I'm already thinking about matchups. Like
I know. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and clear this. So anything else you got on this game of what you've seen so far before we go ahead and get into some look ahead right quick to the Magic?
The only indication I get from this game is that the Grizzlies should have a January. Like, I'm expecting, just looking at the schedule, like, there's no reason they shouldn't be 12-3 coming out of January. Like 11-4, 10-5 at worst.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. Taylor Jenkins isn't winning Coach of the Month. They give it to other people with worse records. So who cares? Honestly, whatever. Go 16-0 for all I care. He still won't win it. All right, real quick. Grizz 901 merch. If you want to find any merch, go to Grizz 901. GrindCityDesigns.com /Grizz 901. GrindCityDesigns.com /Grizz 901. Our presenting sponsor is Zach Jaworski, State Farm. Make sure that if you do have any insurance needs, give those guys a call. 901-443-4798. ZachInsuresMemphis.com. They have, auto. You can, if you're renting, they have renter's insurance, business insurance, pet insurance. That's the thing. That's new. It's a thing. I guess It's not new, but it's a thing. Life insurance, homeowners insurance, whatever insurance you might need. give the guys a call, 901-443-4798 at ZachInsuresMemphis.com. Tonight went 2-2 again on Grizzly Player Watch. If you're a bettor, a lot of those, I think all of those were plus odds, and so definitely cashed for plus money there. So let's get into some game predictions. Heading over into the Magic. I know you look ahead and you see these other teams. What do you see with the Magic? They are on a back-to-back, just like the Grizzlies, but they didn't have travel. So what are your thoughts on the game tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think it's a game the Grizzlies will win. Probably not because Magic are a little more capable, right? Like they have a lot more size. So the rebounding stuff is going to be an interesting matchup, I think. It's kind of like it's weird with the never know who's in and who's out. Do you think they kind of owe them from the preseason? I believe they beat them in the preseason twice. I know at least once. I think I can't remember, but
you care about the preseason? Seriously?
I think the Grizzlies do. Yeah, no. I do.
Mm-mm.
I care about that kind of stuff. So I think they owe them a little bit. Like the Magic think that, hey, we beat y'all in whatever, and y'all's going to take that personally. I do think that is a thing. You have met, you haven't met John, but you have tweeted with John Morant, and you know that is something that he thinks about. But I like the Magic. They're tall, they're goofy. Like they have Bol, who is the most interesting player in the NBA. Probably for his size, like Franz Wagner. I like Paolo Banchero is leading for here, obviously, but I guess it's just who's in and who's out. But Wendell Carter is actually one of those bigs where he can stretch Adams out, right? Like he's been shooting threes. So that has kind of been a thing for Steve-O, is guarding guys who can actually stretch the floor. Like he had great success with that. But I think it will be a Grizzlies win. No doubt. I don't care that it's back-to-back. Like, it's the Magic. Like, they're bad for a reason.
Right. So I do have some, I guess, news in general. Bol, I believe, is out. I don't think he's going to be playing. So I know he was out tonight. Admiral Schofield, I don't think he matters. He's suspended by the league. Franz Wagner and Mo Wagner are both suspended as well during that fight. I think they got two games, I believe. Yeah. Does that 2 games include that Pistons game, or is that afterwards? Because they were probably thrown out, and then you get 2 game suspension. So this would be the second game, right?
Yeah, I would assume. Yeah.
Okay. So they're both going to be out. So I'd imagine. So Bol, I believe, is still injured. I don't think he'll be coming and playing. And so they're going to be without Bol and then the Wagner boys. So they'll both be out. I'm checking on Bol right now as we speak. But Fultz has been a very good player for them. He's been I guess a little bit longer of a guard. And I imagine he'll be the guy who's probably going to be going against Ja defensively. Looks like Bol won't play Wednesday. COVID. So I'm not sure if he'll be back in time to play tomorrow. But we'll see. But anyway, I'm just looking at this team. Obviously, they don't scare me, but I'm excited to see Paolo. Paolo is by far and away the best rookie this year. I've already put my bet in. Thank you at plus 400. I believe we both did the same thing. But looking at Paolo, he is everything for them, right? But then you have Wendell Carter Jr., who I've talked about already. He went for 13 and 13 tonight. I don't think he does that tomorrow night. So I would expect him to go maybe 10 and 10 at the most. Like the guy is just not – Steve-O is dominating these guys to the point where even though Wendell Carter is he's a little bit bigger, I don't think Steve-O is going to have any issues. They do have Mo Bamba on there, but you know what? I would rather have Santi Aldama for your Mo Bamba, and it rhymes.
Yeah, it's funny
so
that
anything
you
else
Markelle
you say?
Fultz, because I was going to say if Markelle Fultz is playing, I like our chances. And I'm not trying to shout at Markelle.
Yes, you are.
I like Markelle, but I think I think it's going off again. I think it's kind of proven that it's proven that when he plays, like, he kind of freezes Paolo out. So he hasn't been the greatest of games. So if Markel plays, I like it for the Grizzlies.
Yeah. Well, there's not much to say on this game, honestly, but it is a game that RJ Hampton, who is his agent is Mike Miller. Obviously, he's worked with him a lot. That's going to be cool to, anytime that you have, a team that anything about at all within the Grizzlies, it's always cool to play. And so you're going to see RJ Hampton there as well. Cole Anthony, who has been a Grizzlies killer, weirdly enough, is going to be playing as well. But Terrence Ross is a guy that I look at. And he's also a guy that I look at potentially being a trade target for somebody this season. He's a guy who can just shoot, and he is an offensive threat only. But he went 3 of 4 from deep tonight. I expect him, if there is a line of 1.5 on him for three-pointers, I'm 100% going to have him hitting 2 or more threes tomorrow night versus the Grizzlies. There's too many times. There's too many wide open three-point shots. I expect Terrence Ross. He played 22 minutes tonight. He can play another 22, 24 tomorrow night. So I expect to hit on those. And that's pretty much it on their team. Gary Harris doesn't worry me too much. He's going to be okay. He's a good player. He's a good vet for them. But it's mainly going to be the Paolo show. Who do you think guards Paolo? Do you think it's going to be maybe, I would imagine it's going to be Dylan, even though he's a power forward. But would you put Dylan or Jaren on Paolo?
I think I would put Dylan on him because Paolo kind of operates out, right? Like, he's out to in. He's not really like a low post guy. So I think Dylan can be physical with him on the perimeter and kind of hold up better.
Yeah.
And Jaren can just, come in on the help side like he does and swat anything away if he gets past Dylan. So that would be my assumption.
That's what I was thinking as well. So I believe it's going to be Dylan on Banchero, and then you're going to have probably, if Houston's still starting again, you're going to have Jaren on Houston. I think that's Michigan State, if I'm not wrong there with my draft knowledge of this past draft. Yeah. Then Wendell Carter was Steve-O, and then you have Fultz, and I would imagine it's going to be Fultz and Ja, and then Gary Harris, who would be with Bane. And so I'm not sure 100% on this, and we're gonna wrap up here in a second. But I believe that we're gonna have Bane playing his first back-to-back since coming from the injury. I know Jaren has now been officially cleared that he can. That coach and the medical staff have all said that he's going to play in the back-to-back, which would be this one upcoming tomorrow. But I believe the same thing and the same standards are set for Bane, as he can now play on the back-to-backs. And as you saw tonight, Bane looked a lot better than he had been, and I think it's been mainly conditioning. So I think that's how it's going to play out. Anything else that you have on that game before we get out of here?
No, the only thing I do want to mention is if, like, everybody that was usually on the end of the bench to be a sub night. Now, I don't know if that was because of illness stuff or a conflict with G League game or something. I certainly wouldn't expect them to the trip or whatever, but it's possible that we could just sit a bunch of people, right? Now, this should be, with everybody that's out for Orlando, this should be an easy win. So I don't know if we're going to get the same kind of thing that where maybe, the top end guys play basically a half and try to build it up as high as you can so everybody else can kind of come in. But that's kind of only the caveat that I have, is that if they have a surprise, like they're sitting a bunch of people for some reason, because they like to surprise us that way. Because tonight's, like, talking about gambling, like tonight's line made absolutely no sense to me. Like, it was 7.5 at Charlotte, and that line made no sense to me. Like, it was the easiest line I've seen all year. It's just like, if it was at the home game of the Grizzlies, you're giving them 1.5, maybe 2 bump. It's 9.5. Like, really? They're going to cover 10 against the Grizzlies, who, in wins are blowing people out with margin. That line just didn't make sense. So I know what Orlando's will be for tomorrow, but I would be shocked if there was like a surprise couple of people sitting out for no reason when they shouldn't.
All right, so the line is out. All of it. It's all out. Total, everything. What do you think the line is? Have you seen it yet?
Wow. I haven't seen it yet. If I had to guess, like the Magic and Hornets are comparable teams back to back. Like you would assume it's the same, but there could be a little extra bump because of the blowout. So I will say 9.5 to 10.5.
At what number would you hammer?
What do you mean? Like
what number? Like
hammering?
Low. Yeah. Yes. For the Grizzlies, like if you saw this number before I give it to you, you're like, all right, I'm throwing a lot on that one.
It would be in the single digits. Anything from up to 9.5.
Okay. Well, it's 6. The line is 6. The over under is 226. It's 226.5 for the over under, which makes no sense either because Orlando likes to get up and score as well. So that means that they're saying that the Grizzlies honestly have to score at least 116 to 110. That's what they're saying. That's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because the Grizzlies haven't been a great road team, but Magic are missing people. Like this line can only mean that they're anticipating some sit out of a back-to-back. Because that's kind of the history of the Grizzlies, right? They do that. But the line still makes no sense to me. Like it's just 6.5. You just watch them, 7.5 to the Hornets are probably marginally worse than the Magic. I mean, head-to-head, I'll take the Magic Hornets. So I give them a little bit of a bump there, but this should still be a double-digit, 9.5 plus. Like higher line. 6.5 makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. And the weird thing about this is, so the Grizzlies obviously have Friday and Saturday off, right? And they're traveling back home. So they have 2 days rest. So that's why I'm not too worried about it, is because the Grizzlies have 2 days rest with a home game. So they're traveling back home. It's not on the road. They're not going to be out in hotels. They're going to come back the same night. It's a 6 o'clock game. And they're going to travel back home. They're going to be in their bed roughly around, I won't say in their bed. They're going to be back in Memphis by midnight or 1 o'clock, right? Whatever they end up doing, that's on them, right? We'll let them go hang out. They want to go have some. They might have some friends over. John might have a basketball game in his house, right? Too soon?
Yeah,
too soon. He might invite the kids over. All right. All right, I don't have anything else. Just want to hit on those lines that they did come out. I expect the Grizzlies to play everybody. The only person that I would not expect them to play, and that would be Desmond Bane, but I believe that they've already come out and say that they're going to play him on a back-to-back. It's mainly just conditioning for him. So at this point, only playing whatever he played. Nobody played more than 27 minutes. I do know that. I forget what day it is. How in the world am I going to actually remember how many minutes they played in a terrible Charlotte Hornets game? 25 minutes. I'm sorry. No, 26 minutes. I can't read either. But the Grizzlies, nobody playing over 27 minutes. I expect everybody to play again, especially on the back-to-back with 2 days rest afterwards coming back home. I'm going to go ahead and take the Grizzlies. I just hit it. I did 2 units. I don't know if anybody else wants to. I did my full 2 units on the Grizzlies -6. I felt comfortable about it. So anything else that you have before we get out of here?
The only thing is maybe this explains the Ziaire playing tonight because he's going to play a lot tomorrow and he doesn't play back-to-backs. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But if he doesn't play tomorrow again, something going on.
There's something going on. It is. And I'm curious to see what it is. Like, I hope the guy figures it out. And I will say, like, to a lot of any viewers, listeners that we have some things happening behind the scenes that might be kind of cool. We're going to change some things up a little bit, but we're going to be more consistent But we're also going to try to do, in just like a normal radio show might have, we're going to have some guests that might pop in after games. They might not be here the entire time, but they're going to come in for 10, 15 minutes at a time just after games whenever they can get done. What if they're working for the Grizzlies? If they're doing something else in life, they might have a chance to come by here and just pop in the post-game show, say a few things. We'll kind of pick their brain about the game that night and then keep it moving. But we're going to make sure we're a little bit more consistent as we kind of catch, our breath a little bit after the holidays and head the right direction. If you're overseas and you had a chance to hear Funaki Stats, which is the Steven Adams Stats on Twitter, thank you for honestly listening and watching that. He was awesome. And so we're hoping to have him back on again and make sure that we kind of keep showing our love to our Kiwi brethren and sisters, maybe. I don't know. But that's all we have. So we have some fun things planned, and I hope you stay with us. I'll have some other fun news way down the road, but we're going to put that as a teaser out now. But way down the road, we'll have some more fun things. But that's all we have. If you have a chance, go to YouTube and subscribe. Give us a rate and review on podcast. We appreciate everybody. Be nice and tell your friends.